Terry Blackburn here. I have a property portfolio worth over £10 million. I've built and sold multiple companies, some in seven-figure deals. I wrote two successful books, one won awards all over the world. All of these awards behind me are national and international awards for some of my companies. Coach people one-on-one, and I run masterminds. Now, if you like what I talk about in this session, if you listen to my podcast, you follow us on Instagram, you follow the YouTube page, if you like what I talk about and I resonate with you and you can relate to me, jump on my website, which is terryblackburnproperty.com. All of the different services that I have is on there. I'd love to work with you and I'd love to help you get to where you want to be, whether that's in property, whether that's in business, whether it's in sales, goal setting, whatever it is that you want to achieve and want to learn. I'm your man. Enjoy the rest of the episode and speak soon.
Thanks for having us, Chris. I've followed you for a while on LinkedIn and stuff. Looking forward to the episode, having a chat and hopefully helping some of your listeners.
Yeah, love it. And this is the thing. It's great to have you on, Terry. I've seen you over LinkedIn on the years. And when it popped up as a message, I was like, this is awesome. This is going to be such a good podcast. And we chatted a lot in the LinkedIn comments about, we really thought about what we could bring to this podcast episode to help you guys, the listeners, sell more mortgages, sell more protection, run your business in more of an effective way or efficient way, because this is exactly what Terry does. So if you think Terry charges for his consultancy fee, but think this is a free episode for you. So if I were you, I'd have a notebook out, a pencil, and I'd be writing everything down. But before we get into all the tips and tricks and strategies, Terry, could you give us a bit of a background as to how you started in the industry, what happened when you sold the companies, and how you got to where you are today, please?
Yeah, cool. Spot on. So started when I was 19, so I'm 36 now. I sleep more than 1 hour a night, by the way, just to point that out. Sleep really, really important. Although sometimes I've got 4 kids just to make my life a little bit harder. I've got 4 kids, so sometimes I don't get that much sleep. But yeah, so going back, so I started when I was 19, 36 now. Age 19, straight from school, I was a builder. Hated it. Absolutely hated every bit of it. I was terrible at it as well. And I stumbled into life insurance sales at age 19 by complete luck and chance. Working for Combined Insurance Company of America. And we were literally cold calling life insurance. I was knocking on doors, selling life insurance, walking into shops. I remember I walked into a bank and pitched the cashier, but I waited in line to speak to the woman in front of the glass, and I pitched the woman in the bank. Bear in mind, bank sold life insurance, because I just didn't. I was so naive to it, and I was just young and full of energy. Anyway, so I did that really, really tough, and that actually is a good point, because that gave me such a tough skin at that early age to I'm not bothered about pitching anybody. Doing these big business deals that I'm doing at the minute, it stems from that tough skin, that resilience that is built in you when you have to cold call and you have to pitch people. No disrespect to anybody, but when someone rings you up and says, I want a mortgage, and you just have to find the product, that's not really selling. And as long as you know your criteria, and you're qualified, of course, most people can do that. Whereas selling is a complete different thing. Selling protection is very, very different to mortgages, and certainly cold calling life insurance when you're 19 and you look about 12 is definitely tough, right? So anyway, so that's where I started. I then moved to MetLife Europe when I was 21. Built a big team in MetLife, had about 40 advisors working for me in MetLife at the time. Then I set up Bespoke Financial when I was 24. That went on to, across all of the branches, we had over 100 sales staff. We were the biggest firm in Primus, all the awards behind us. We were the biggest firm in Primus for many years in a row. Our biggest ever month in Bespoke across the branches was 1,162 new life insurance policies in 1 month. That was between the Newcastle and Teesside branch. So, they're quite substantial figures and, millions of commissions per year. So I started that when I was 24, exited when I was 33 in 2022. Alongside that, I set up Mortgage Genie when I was 26-ish. It was a couple of years after Bespoke. And the reason why I separated them, I suppose, was they were very different business models. Bespoke Financial was a self-employed protection-only model mainly, with a few mortgages, mainly protection-only. Self-generated leads using referrals and the old-school techniques that I taught. And I set up Mortgage Genie, which was effectively an online mortgage brokerage. Set that up in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. I set it up, then I plugged in the other directors and the people that run it now are plugged in. And the objective of that business, because it was so different to Bespoke, it was an online mortgage brokerage. We used PPC, SEO, affiliates, social media to drive leads in. And they were employed mortgage brokers on the phones. So the reason why they were separated, because I've been asked that before in a podcast, was because they were polar opposites. Self-gen protection.
Yeah, I was going to say,
lead gen employed.
By the sound of it, you already built that Bespoke brand up. So it could have been easily to do bespoke mortgages, couldn't it? And almost like pass over that brand authority to a brand new mortgage company.
Yeah, for sure. And there wasn't any particular or sort of standout reason apart from it is a different model, and like employed leads are given against self-employed, no leads are given. It's just because it was so different. And I came up with the name, the Mortgage Genie. I came up with the name Bespoke as well. So I think I'm good at making names. I've got a few other quirky companies as well outside of financial services. I am good at coming up with brands and names and things, and they're both pretty, recognized brands in financial services now. So I like the name, the Mortgage Genie. So I was like, right, I'm going to do that. I plugged in someone who worked for us at Bespoke, give him shares. And then that grew, and that got investment. After 2 years, I got a substantial 6-figure investment into the business. About a year before I sold it. So about a year in, got £500,000 invested into that business for 20%. So that they were valuing it substantially at that point. And then, I exited a few years later for various reasons. And that's actually went on and sold again.
Has it? Okay.
Yeah, it sold again. So that, to answer your question, that's the whistle-stop tour of my journey. But there's loads of other things that happened along the way. But that's the financial services journey, I suppose you could say.
Oh, awesome. And then what happened? I'd like to hear what's happened since 2022 when you exited Bespoke Financial. What have you been, because it doesn't sound like you've been sitting on your ass for the last 3 years.
Definitely not. This might be an interesting talking point, because for many years I thought selling a business and getting a load of money and signing non-disclosure on the Bespoke deal, but it's quite a bit of money. And I thought when you get this big lump of money and it hits your bank, you're like, I've made it. I'm done. And at this point, I had about £7-ish million worth of property. I was doing well. Like, I didn't need the money from the sale, but it was obviously nice. Yeah. I thought, right, I can sit back now at 33. The pressure's going to be off. I can just chill. Honestly, hand on heart, after a week, I thought, what have I done?
Really?
Have I done the right thing? Should I have even done this? I love financial services. My friends are there. What am I going to do now? It was a week. Honestly, a week. So from age 19 to 33, every single Monday, I'd done some sort of sales training. Yeah, well, I suppose not 19. When I started building a team from 21 to 33, I'd run a sales meeting every Monday, and I loved it. Then all of a sudden, that wasn't there. And I was like, oh my God, it's my identity. So selling my point is selling the company and getting a big lump of money wasn't what I thought. I thought it would be amazing and like this fantastic feeling. It's good when the money hits the bank. But then after that, it was kind of like, okay, what do I do now? I'm too young to retire. I can't bloody retire. So then it was very much right. And I was starting to read books on like, what do you do when you sell a business? Because a lot of people lose the mind a little bit. A lot of people get really down and depressed and all sorts of horrible things. That definitely didn't happen to me. I was just like, right, I need to reinvent myself. And what I landed upon was coaching people, sales training is what I loved the most about Bespoke, because I had this huge team. Every single week I was training them on everything from how to close to how to build rapport, how to ask questions in the fact find, how to get referrals, how to get repeat business, how to follow up, all of the parts that's involved in financial services. I loved. So I came to the conclusion that, right, well, I love the sales training, I love coaching, I love helping. So that's what I'm going to do. And that landed me on this online education world, I suppose you could call it, online coaching. And I did that for property investors because I've got a large portfolio myself. I've got, hotels, I've got HMOs, buy-to-lets, Airbnbs, I've got loads going on there. And then I started to get into coaching other financial advisors, which is what I'm really leaning into at the moment, because I think there's huge demand for one, and there's not many people doing it for two. But yeah, anyway, to kind of answer your question,
That's really interesting. That it's almost like the footballer that retires and then they're sat at home, and unfortunately, you can see as to why they kind of go down the drink and drugs route, because they've had so much buzz since they were probably younger, 15, 14, 15, get to 33, very similar age, and go, Monday morning, I haven't got to report in for training.
What now?
It's like, what do I do? So it seems very similar. Here's a question for you, and it's probably going to be the title of the podcast, this.
Yeah.
Do you regret selling Bespoke, not from getting rid of the name or everything, but from the day-to-day running of being in a business? If somebody give you the chance to turn back and go, somebody put the offer on the table again, would you say yes again?
So I did regret it for probably 3 months. And I was, yeah, I mean, I don't actually know how long, but it was definitely a period. Yeah. It wasn't years, and it definitely wasn't days. So there was definitely a period where I thought I have made a mistake. And that wasn't like, let's try and unravel this and get back in. It was, I'm very solution focused, and in business you do make mistakes. I've made other mistakes. I think anybody who hasn't made mistakes in business or anyone who says that's lying, right? So I thought for a period, that, I maybe shouldn't have done that. But it was always like, I know the next thing I'm going to make work. And I know there's a phrase that I always stuck with is, which is when one door closes, another opens. And I definitely believed that. But it was just because I couldn't see exactly what was behind that new door. I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of knew I needed to do this to open the new door, and I kind of knew I'd make it work. But there was a period of like, well, why didn't I just keep doing it? I was making loads of money. I was enjoying it. My friends are there. I'm good at it. Like, why did I do it? So there was, I suppose I was conflicting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh my God, worst decision ever. Shit, like, I wish I never, it wasn't that bad. Yeah. It was like kind of, do you know what I mean? Trying to say, so it was, I'm conscious I'm not answering your question fully, but it's because it's not clear cut.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not a clear
cut. No,
yes.
And that's the truth. The truth behind it is, and it's not that and the reason I asked that question is not because of the people that took it over or the way that it's run. It's purely, like you said there, you sat there on a Monday morning and went, I'm normally running a sales meeting. Do I regret selling it for that? So it's quite interesting. But what you say is, I think you put it perfectly. As one door closes, another one opens. You just didn't know what was behind that next door, and that's what you've got into now. So
exactly,
going into, we're going to take you back into the businesses. So you've started the Mortgage Genie, you've started Bespoke Financial. Was it ever your aim when you set up those businesses to sell them, Terry?
So with Mortgage Genie, that was always kind of the intention. It didn't pan out how I thought it would pan out. But I can't actually remember who it was, but I was having a conversation. I think it was something I was listening to, or somebody I met. I remember very clearly anyway, like this phrase just hit, when you hear a quote and it just hits you like a bolt of lightning, and it stuck with me so much. I heard this quote, this was before Mortgage Genie, and it was when I was running Bespoke, and someone said, I heard, you don't have a business if it doesn't run and grow without you. And I was like, well, I've got a business. But then I reflected on that quote, or whenever I heard it, I was like, but if I go on holiday at the start of Bespoke, this was like, I don't have it's chaos, sales dip, unorganized mess, noise. And I was like, I actually don't have a business. So then I started to go down this rabbit hole of, right, well, what is a proper business? How do I make it a proper business? And whether you build a business to sell it or you build it to be really profitable and leverage yourself out, it is the same process. So this was still Bespoke, pre-Mortgage Genie. So then I was like, right, well, so what I need to do here is I need to plug in systems and staff. I was only 26 at this point. Systems and staff and processes into this company so that I can go on holiday and it can still run and grow without me. This is pre-Mortgage Genie. So then, and I'm not going to, bend the truth. It took me ages to get to that stage. From to get Bespoke to that stage took years. because it does. I mean, I was a young guy, like I was relatively, inexperienced in business. I was doing well financially. I was starting to buy property, but I had to go through that process of like, recruiting good people, systems, processes, CRMs, and getting it all looking nice anyway. So that was kind of in motion. And then the Mortgage Genie was kind of born. And I came up with a name, and then I decided the structure, and I plugged in the other director and give him shares and all that. And then kind of from that, it was like, right, well, from the outset, it's been set up this way. It's not like Bespoke. I built it on just me. And if there was any issue, it was me. If there was a problem, if there was a good thing, bad thing, a staff issue, a client issue, it was all came through me. Whereas Mortgage Genie was set up completely different. And I think that's why, I exited in a deal and then it resold again. Probably because it was set up properly from the outset.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying there is, because a lot of the people that will be listening to this will have mortgage businesses. And from what you're saying is, yes, in an ideal world, if your decision is to build up a business to sell it, ideally lay the foundations correctly first, get a good director and give them shares, give them an investment in it. But if you are within the business right now and you're like, look, I want to exit in the next 5-10 years, it sounds like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you need to get the right people at the top so the business can function without you. You need to make sales without you, and it needs to be organized without you with the right processes. And that can't happen overnight, can it? It takes a while to put those processes in place.
Definitely. And, I work with quite a few financial services firms now, from one-man bands to relatively size. I work with a couple in the Northeast that are nationals, based in the Northeast, but they've got staff everywhere. Don't think I should mention the names because I don't think
No, that's okay. No, I'd rather you not, because that's
the biggest in the Northeast I work with. But anyway, so like, yes, people, and I think what's really important to say here is, like, if you're just starting off, or it's you're a one-man band, really as a small business, it's going to be you can't even do it yet. I think you've got to. Do you know what I'm trying to say? You can't really. You don't want to day one or year one plug in a director and give him a big salary, because then the pressure's on. Like,
okay, good point.
I don't think you can do it really early. You can set systems. And the easiest way to do that, which is what I teach, which is literally just on a Word doc, nothing fancy. If you're good with tech, you'll be able to do it in a more fancy way than me. But on a Word doc, even a bit of paper, start with literally a list. And that list it starts with, right, how do you receive the lead in the first place? Is that social media? Is that from an estate agent? Is it a PPC campaign, paid ads, whatever? You have to write a list from receiving the lead to being paid, completing the deal, and what happens post-sale. So literally every step. So you receive the lead, who then rings them, who books the appointment, who does the fact find, who does the research, who does the close, what happens from close to completion, what happens after completion, what's the post-sale process, what's the follow-up process, what's the review process, and you just write a list of how it flows currently in your business, because they'll all be slightly different, how it works, and then you write beside it, right, currently who does what. That might be, all of it might be you, because you're one-man band. But that is the framework to think, right, well, that's how it goes. Right, well, I do it all now, right? Who can I plug in next? Maybe it's the admin element is the first thing to go, right? Because nobody likes admin, right? I hate admin. I'm useless at it. Plug in an administrator. Then, right, well, if I want to do, if I can increase my marketing and I can get more leads, you can get more staff. But you don't plug in more staff before your marketing's right. So you get your marketing right, then you plug in more staff. Once you've got, once you've got 10 staff, 10 sales staff, you typically need someone to lead those staff. Then once you've got multiple teams of 10, you need someone to manage the managers. We did 5 administrators to 1 office manager. You know what I mean? So there's little rules that you can set behind that. But don't try and run before you can walk, and don't try and plug someone in on a big chunky salary before you've got that right. But this is what I teach you. One of the things that I teach to the FS firms is literally just get it mapped out, what happens from receiving the lead to being paid and post-sale, and then work out who does what can I delegate, and start to systemize. And there's other points. It's obviously a lot to that exercise is, can you use tech? Do you need to outsource your social media? Do you take it in-house? Do you do PPC? Do you do affiliate campaigns? Do you work with agents? There's a million and one ways and points to each little section of that. But the starting point is just mapping it out.
Map it.
Working
I
out
like
who's
the
going to do
idea.
what, and you can start to beef out.
Have you read the book, The E-Myth Revisited?
Yes. Yeah.
So you'll just do it. So the E-Myth, for anybody that's watched it, too much Netflix on my head. Anybody that's read it, you essentially do what Terry's saying there. It's like a backwards version, isn't it? You build the pyramid of the staff, and you say, at the minute, I'm doing exactly what Terry said. I'm doing every role on that bit of paper. But when can I hire my first admin? And then when can I hire my next broker? So I love that. Sketch it out on a bit of paper. In the day of AI and chat GPT and all that, put that to one side for just an hour. Go and get a bit of paper, pencil, sketch it out, and do it step by step. I love that. When you're speaking to businesses, because you've given some really good examples of when you've gone into businesses and started right at the beginning and sketched everything out, what would you say are the three main things that people struggle with when growing their business?
The struggle with, I mean, most people, me included, make a mistake on recruiting somebody at some point in the business. I think most businesses of any real size have made a wrong hire. So again, another thing that I teach is, like, a lot of people, even outside of financial services, I'm working with firms now on how to build a sales team, because most people really do struggle to recruit, to find, recruit, and train on an ongoing basis good sales staff. So I think most people struggle with the recruitment element. You need, what your job adverts look like? What's your interview process? How do you onboard the staff? How do you train them on an ongoing basis? How do you treat them to keep them? Like, there's a big piece there on recruitment. It's a massive bit. And I would listen to Stephen Bartlett on a recent seminar I was at, and he was like, his job, God knows how many businesses he's running, and the level he's at is humongous, obviously. He said he's basically just, all he does is recruit. He just tries to find the best people in everything he's involved in. He said he's looking at CVs and interviewing that's the bulk of his week every week is
interviewing.
Yeah, and he's not alone by saying that. And so it's something that a lot of people struggle with, but it's also one of the most important things in any business, because you can only take it so far. If you get the best office manager in your area, your back office is going to be slick, and it is going to enable you to give clients a better service and take care of all of that side of it, so you can focus on driving the money in. If you find the best marketer in your niche, that is going to enable you to drive more leads. If you find the best salespeople, you're going to convert more of those leads. And I know that's dead simple and obvious, but people still don't do it. And when people recruit, what they'll do is they'll penny pinch. Oh, well, I think I can get a office manager for 20 grand when the going rate's 25. I'll try and get, why don't you pay 28 and get the best? Or very good, because it does make a difference. And I've been through this. I've tried to recruit on the cheap, and then I paid good money, and it's a breath of fresh air when you pay good money. Definitely. So three things. So I think staff, definitely. How else do they grow the business? I tell you one thing, which kind of links to what you do, I think, is I don't think people actually realize that marketing, as in getting leads, however you get them, is like, I don't want to say it's the most important, but it's certainly up there. If you've got no leads to close, you're not going to, even if you're amazing at selling, but you've got nothing to sell to, it doesn't matter how good you are at selling. If you know everything about every bit of mortgage criteria that's possibly available, and you're an encyclopedia for mortgage criteria, it doesn't matter if you've got nobody to give advice to. So the starting point is getting your marketing right. And that's in, bear in mind, I've got hotels, I've got a bar and restaurant, I've got a construction business, I've got a letting agent, I've wrote books, I've got a podcast, I've done financial service, I've done loads of things, right, in different industries. And in every one of them, marketing is key. Like,
it's at the top,
financial
isn't it?
services is no bloody different.
Yeah.
The marketing is the key, because you've got to get the leads. If you don't have the leads, you've got nothing to close. And if you look at it the other way, let's say you're amazing at getting leads, but you're average at selling. That person number one's amazing at getting leads, average at selling. Person number two is terrible at getting leads, amazing at selling. The person who's amazing at getting leads, who's average at selling, is going to do a lot more business than the other person.
Yeah, good point. If they're going to convert 50%,
advice. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to do a lot more. So I think a mistake, and this isn't something I knew from the start, marketing is so pivotal to any business. And if you want to scale, you need more clients. The starting point of getting more clients isn't getting better at sales, although it's so important. The starting point is getting more leads. Then when
Yeah.
you've got more leads, you definitely need to learn how to convert more, which I think is missing in financial services, hence why I'm going heavily into it. Because from what I can see online, there's nobody really decent at giving proper sales training. And yeah, so I think that the marketing. And
Okay.
number
So
three,
staff,
sorry,
staff,
yeah,
leads, and then what would number 3 be?
struggle to scale, was that the question? Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, growing their business, scaling their business. Yeah.
what they struggle with to grow the business. I suppose, don't want to contradict what I've just said, but in my experience, a lot of the mortgage world, a lot of the mortgage brokers that I've met over the years, and I've met a lot of them, I think a lot of them don't see themselves as somebody who is in sales. They see themselves
Okay.
as
Yeah.
more as financial advisor. They advise people. They're a consultant. Yeah. And this isn't be a pushy salesperson, but I think when you give sales skills the attention it deserves, I think you instantly, not only do you become better at your job, you advise more clients, you help more people, you get more referrals, you make more money, which in turn gives you more freedom, options, and choices. And money's not everything, but it's definitely, I'm a big believer, it's very important. It makes you feel better. I'd rather be crying in a Bentley than crying in a Corsa, right? I don't know about you. Like money is important. So
Yeah.
so my point is there, I think people struggle with either understanding that they are in sales or struggle with the selling element. Like I said at the start, like
Yeah.
if someone rings you up and says, I want a mortgage, I found this house, can you get us the best product? Like, no disrespect to anybody. I'm a mortgage broker as well, right? I'm in this world. Like, that's not that difficult. That's not really selling. That's just, yeah, I've got this product here, Halifax, Santander, whoever. That's the best rate. This is the arrangement fee. Da, 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 da. Do you want to go ahead?
But
That's not really selling.
my point would be, I agree with you, it's not selling, but everything in life is sales, I think. Everything from speaking to
100%.
your partner to convincing them to go to a certain restaurant, that's selling, putting your point across. If somebody picked up the phone and said, I want that house, and you just said, yeah, Halifax, do it, all right, they're probably not going to warm to you. So you've almost got to sell yourself in that first instance and go, oh, fantastic, lovely, tell me about the house. I have got options, etc., etc. I agree with you, it's not hardcore selling, but it's not selling the Halifax product, but it is selling your service to them first. Once you've got them in the door, then yes, you need to be looking at selling the likes of protection, wills, everything on top of that.
Definitely.
And that's where what people see as sales skills in inverted commas then come into effect. But I think the selling starts right at that first point of contact.
Of course it does. You're selling yourself. You're making them
Yeah.
like you, trust you, trust your advice, trust the company that you work for, or if it's your own firm, trust it, because they're not short of options, are they? Like, you
Yeah.
just have to
And
go
that's the
online and
thing.
type in mortgage
So
broker. There's
many
plenty of
people out
people.
there. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but then that you said it there, it definitely links to the protection element. And not only do you make more money, and that's not the driver, you are legit helping your customers and doing the right thing by selling the protection. But loads of mortgage brokers just cannot do it, won't do it, don't know how to do it, or they're very, very weak at sales. And I've listened in on many calls. Some of them just haven't got it. And that doesn't mean that they can't get it. That
Yeah.
just means it's, but that goes back to my point, which is I don't think they look at themselves as someone who is in a career that
Yep.
involves sales. They think I am a mortgage broker, I am an advisor, I'm a consultant, I'm an IFA, I'm a whatever. But yeah, you are, and that's your title. You're qualified to say that. You've got the letters after your name. Yeah, I get it. But also just remember, in my opinion, I think that they need to remember that they're in sales, and in sales is what underpins the difference between IFA number one that makes 50 grand and IFA number two who makes 500 grand. Like the same product, same
Yeah.
country, but they're doing something different, right? And the thing that
Yeah.
they're doing different is they know how to sell. and
I
that
love
sell
that.
themselves, the company, the product, the advice, the outcome, desired outcome, the pain points that the customer's got. It's all selling, right? So yeah.
So the three there, I just want to recap what Terry's gone over there because they're absolute gold. The first one is staff. You need good staff, and don't scrimp and save on the staff. And that's easy to say from somebody that's maybe sold businesses, but you've been in that situation. I love the honesty. I tried and scrimped and saved and made a mistake. So if it is a case of getting the best office manager or the best admin, it will free you up more time to go and do what you're good at. Number
Definitely.
two is leads. That's where the business always starts. You should always spend money on marketing. Funnily enough, this is the Social for Brokers Marketing or your podcast. And if you need help with your marketing,
Little
I'm
plug
selling
there.
myself now. But this is what we're going to speak about the communities in a bit. But this is what we're training people to do in our Learning Lab Skool community. We're teaching you how to get those leads on social by putting yourself out there. You've got to get more leads from the top. And then in terms of speaking about the third thing, see yourself, and I was trying to think how to word this, see yourself as a salesperson. Don't, in life, everything is selling, but from that first initial point of contact, see yourself as that salesperson that is going to sell the service, sell them the most suitable product, and then sell them protection on top of that. Love that. Okay, so
just to add one thing on there, because I think it's relevant and important, is I think for some reason in the UK, the word sales or salesman, saleswoman, for some reason has a bit of a negative sort of connotation to it, doesn't it? It's a bit of a dirty word, isn't it? Like salesperson. Maybe that's because of PPI. Remember them calls that we used to always get? Maybe it's just because of car salespeople, double glazing salespeople, whatever. Like sales, like in America, completely different. I was in Vegas 2 months ago at a big seminar. It's celebrated in America if you're in sales, right? I don't know why it is this way in the UK, but it's not
not a dirty word almost.
Career. No, definitely not. It's an amazing thing because sales is just collaborating by giving somebody what they want or solving a problem, giving a solution where both people win. And I think maybe that's a mindset shift on the word or the meaning behind being in sales as a career. And when you, same as anything, when you value it, you give it attention, you read more books on it, you listen to more podcasts on it, you learn it and perfect it, and that then spills out into more success in whichever field
just see yourself. I like that. See yourself in the sales, and don't be ashamed to think I'm in the sales business. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so one of the biggest questions I'm going to ask is in a moment about leads, but as a thank you, we like to donate £10 to a charity of your choice. Terry, for coming on, which charity did you want us to make the donation to?
So I was a bit unsure when you asked us this question because, I just wasn't sure. I used to give a lot more to charity than I do now, which made us think I should maybe start giving back a bit more. But because I've got 4 kids, I thought the NSPCC, I think there's a lot of kids out there that, have a lot less fortunate upbringings and situations than maybe a lot of the listeners, recognise. So yeah.
We'll make that donation for you. Okay, fantastic. So the question I'd like to ask now is how do the listeners generate new mortgage or protection leads for their business? And I know this could go on for hours, but what few things can these people put into practice straight away to generate new leads?
So I think there's 2 main categories in ways to answer this question. There's paid ways to generate leads and there's non-paid ways. So the paid ways, everyone knows these. You've got PPC, you've got SEO, you've got social media organic, where you're paying someone to do it, or you've got social media when you're paying a marketing manager, someone like yourself, a social media manager or something. You've got sponsorships, you've got collaboration, paid affiliates, paid campaigns. There's lots of ways to do it digitally, I would say. I suppose non-digital ways. We used to sponsor football teams. What else did we used to do? We used to run events. And just, if you think of it like this, like if you boil marketing down, all it really is, you need to just get in front of the people who you want to target and be the more specific, the better, in my opinion. Don't just say anybody with a mortgage, right? Well, location, age, income bracket. is there a certain occupation niche that you want to go down? Because the broader you get, the narrower you get, the easier it is to find those people. Instead of going to, I'm going to sell to everybody, that's harder. So you far better, like Mortgage Genie, we geo-targeted places like Kent. We geo-targeted York at a certain price point. If someone typed in mortgage broker when they were in Kent or York or wherever, and you can target you can target gender, you could target age bracket at one point, and income bracket.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is there's lots of paid ways, but some people might not have the money to do that. One free way is post every day on socials. Every day on socials, if it doesn't matter how good you are, if nobody knows who you are.
Oh, I like that.
That's a phrase, yeah. Don't pinch that one. I like that. That's mine.
No, that's. I just like that. It's just so simple, isn't it? Yeah.
No, that's right. And I teach this in like a lot of the property people that I teach as well on how to invest in property. And they say, well, I want to raise money from investors. Yeah, but if nobody knows how investable you are, nobody's going to invest with you. And exactly the same applies for if you're a mortgage broker or a life insurance broker. If you want more life insurance leads, if nobody knows that you do life insurance, they're not going to come to you. Same applies to mortgages. So anyway, there's all of the paid avenues. One thing I would recommend is any avenue that you go down, don't try and do them all at once. Pick one marketing strategy and you stick with it for, I do 90 days per strategy, and you test and measure what works in that strategy before you move on. Because doing paid ads for a week and saying it doesn't work, it isn't long enough. Doing social media, I bet you experience this with clients. Do social media for 2 months and I've had no leads, doesn't work.
Yeah,
but
it's a longer term thing, especially organic, and that's with paid ads as well. The most expensive way to run paid ads is keep on changing the campaigns, and it's exactly the same with marketing. Like you say, the most expensive way to waste money in marketing is to do something new every month.
You've got to change exactly. You've got to test things definitely, but you've also got to give things long enough to get an accurate or enough data. People are spending like a $5 a day on ads. Like, you're not going to get data for ages. Do you know what I mean? Enough data for ages.
It's really hard to put that money up front, isn't it? When an agency comes to you and says, right, we're going to PPC or SEO, right, we want you to spend 50 quid a day. And you're like, oh, bloody hell, that's a lot of money every month for me as a one-person band. But way I would do it if I was a mortgage broker, I'd flip it. Right, how many cases do I need to get off the next month? Maybe 2. Okay, as long as I land 2 cases, I'm breaking even, and try and think about it that way. Sorry to interrupt you. You're on your flow. So you talked about paid.
No, you're spot on though, and like, you know, we've done ads for loads of different types of businesses, and my team actually do ads for some other people, but that's certainly not my focus. Like, you're right though. People are far too impatient, and for some reason, I think, especially in financial services, in my experience as well, people don't want to spend money. And then think of it like, oh, well, you know, I don't really want to spend all that with no guarantee that anything will come. Yeah, but what are your options? You might have to. If you want to scale quick, you've got to. Mortgage Genie, we were spending, from memory, in 2018 when I got out of it, 20-ish a month just on PPC.
20, how much?
20 grand a month. 20 grand a month on PPC ads. That's not SEO. That's not socials. That's just PPC, because that was the main lead source. So yes, anyway, there's all of the paid avenues, and some of those might be right for the listeners, some not. But there is stuff that you can do free today, starting right now after this podcast, that you could do instantly that doesn't cost a bean, that will generate leads. And I've proven it to work in multiple businesses, and I've coached people and they've done the same and it's worked. For example, everyone's got a back book. Do people know how to ring a back book properly? What to say to generate interest and set up a review? Because in my experience, a lot of people don't know what to say and how to position it properly. They bring them up and say, oh, it's time for a review. Oh, it's been 2 years. That's not what you say. Or the leads that you've quoted and haven't went ahead. You know what people do in the mortgage world? They bring them up and say, hey, John, I'm just following up. That is the worst thing you can say in your life. I'm just checking in. That means, I want your money. Can you give us your money yet? That's what that means. Right. That's how the customer take, I'm just following up. But that's what everybody says. It's the worst thing you can say. You need a follow-up script and a process, like the one that I teach. I've done this at Mortgage Genie, I've done it at Bespoke, and I've done it with clients. You can ask existing customers for referrals.
Sorry, Terry, do you mind us just giving a little snippet, a little taster there of what they would say when they call up?
On a follow-up or a back book?
So say a follow-up, for example, because there'll be a lot of people out there that've quoted for them and they haven't come back to them.
I should definitely be charging for this, shouldn't I, Chris? So I won't give you the full script, right, because it's part of the process and there's a lot more to it. But if you just ring them up and say, "Hiya, such and such, it's Terry from Bespoke. I seen you last week. I know we didn't go ahead. Now I was just following up to see, if you still want to go ahead," right? That's the general gist of an uneducated salesperson's follow-up, yeah. Which the customer will take that as, "I'm just trying to sell to you," yeah, and nobody really wants to be sold to. So you can reverse that completely by ringing them up and saying, "Hi, is that Chris? Hiya, Chris. I do apologise, Chris. I've been rushed off my feet. Your case is actually still on my desk, and I've been so busy, I haven't even had a chance to come back to you." And then you're in with, you elevate the pain. So if you're talking about protection, you don't have anything in place. You're self-employed. You don't have any sick pay. You don't have any cancer cover in place. Your mortgage isn't protected. Whatever the pain is, you remind them of the pain. Because when you do a fact find with someone, you elevate the pain if you do it properly, by the way. Loads of brokers don't even do fact finds properly. That's why they don't sell protection. But if you've done the fact find properly, you've elevated the pain, pressed on it, and then the follow-up is 3 days later, they forgot about the pain. They forgot about the problem that they have. So you have to remind them. Yeah. If you just go, "I'm just following up. Do you want to go ahead?" The pain is depleted.
I like that.
Their motivation to work with you is lowered. It's not there. But just because he's been in your diary for 3 days and you remember him, he probably doesn't remember you. So there's a lot more to this, obviously, and there's how you elevate.
I like you giving a bit of a free bit there, because I know you didn't want it there. I was like, I'm going to get a bill tomorrow from Terry.
No. But there's a lot more to it. Like, obviously, I don't mind. I've said things like that on podcasts before, but yeah, honestly, like, that's just a taste of how big sales is as a subject. And I've literally spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on books and courses and mentors in sales alone. And I've also spent that, not as much, but I've spent a lot on marketing mentors as well, because those two together are just like the winning formula. The winning formula in any business, in any industry. You've got an abundance of leads and you can close the leads really well and monetize them. Like, that's a recipe for
that's it. That's all you need as a business, isn't it? And then you need support. The reason you have the support is so you can either do more marketing or sell more. That's essentially why you bring support in. So that's it.
Of course it is.
Marketing and sales, and then get some support to allow you to do more marketing and sales.
And you don't even need the support if you haven't got enough leads and you're not selling enough. So you've got to get them two first before you get the support. So yeah,
3 ways is calling your back book and following up with old appointments. Is there anything else you say posting on social media daily is a must?
Yeah, organic posting. I mean, I don't think it's a must, but what it is it is a fast track. If you can still be really successful without posting once a day, but you will be really successful in a shorter time frame if you post once a day, because you are more visible. It's as simple as that. More people will know about you, and it's not. And I say this all the time: posting just with a company logo and there's no personality. It's brutal. Some of the people's posts that I see, you've got to be you. Other free ways: referrals from existing customers, referrals from new customers. You need a referral. I'm definitely not giving you my referral script, because that's definitely worth a few quid.
No, that one's $5,000 if you want to transfer me the money, and I'll speak to Terry about it.
But there's referrals, which is old school, but it still definitely works. There's networking events. There's putting yourself out there. There's DMing people, getting people into conversations to warm them up, which is hard, and you've got to do loads and loads of volume. It's a bit spammy, but it does work if you do enough of it. Like, and the good thing about protection, anybody with kids, anybody with mortgages, anybody who's self-employed, like, that's a lot of people, like, they need something, right? And it shouldn't just be waiting for the phone to ring. You can find those people. Yeah. And one last one, I suppose, which is a really good one, which I teach, which is strategic alliances. So a strategic alliance is you partner up with somebody else who has your target market, who has your customers. So the one that everybody knows in financial services is an estate agent. They have mortgage customers, perfect, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more of protection. We used to do, I'll give you I'm giving away with loads of these things, yeah, but like nurseries, right? What have they got? Parents, what do parents need? Life insurance. Sports clubs, what do sports clubs have? Sports players, what do sports players need? Accident insurance, income protection. Yeah, there's divorce lawyers. What do divorce lawyers do? They help people get divorced. What happens when someone gets divorced? Two people separate, two new mortgages, two new bits of life insurance, two new wills. Like, but there's hundreds of these strategic alliances but you need to know what to say when you ring them. You need to know how to position, how to sell to them your idea and concept. So yeah, there's a lot to it.
And the reason I asked that question, I know that was a really broad question, I didn't expect so much to be said on the podcast, is everybody that's listening to this, there's probably 20 different avenues that you could go down, whether it be paid or organic. So depending if you've got a company that can make the investment, do paid. If at the moment you're at a position where you can't make that investment, Terry's just given you a list of 20 things you can do for free. Now, what Terry said earlier in the podcast, if we go back, is he said, don't try and do them all. And that's so key, especially if you're going down the route where you're going to do the free versions. Pick one thing. Are you going to do in-person events? Are you going to do sponsorships? Are you going to do speaking to divorce lawyers or nurseries or schools? Just pick one of those. Please don't try and listen to this podcast and do them all. Perfect example. I had somebody message me the other day going, I've listened to all your podcasts. I listened to the guy that smashed it on LinkedIn. I love the guy that does Instagram, the guy that does direct mail, the guy that he says, I want to put it all into practice. And I said, just hold fire. Every one of those people only does their one thing. The guy on LinkedIn smashes it on LinkedIn. The guy with DMs smashes it with DMs. You don't need to do them all. You just need to pick one. The one that you know you can be consistent with. And Terry said exactly the same. Somebody that's built and sold businesses in FS, focus on one. What is it? Focus. FOCUS is what? Focus on
one course until success. Yeah.
It's exactly that, isn't it? To wrap up the podcast, I would like to ask the one question that we put out on a poll on LinkedIn, and everybody wanted to know this answer from our guests. What's the one tool you couldn't live without in your business, Terry?
In my FS business, is this, or is this businesses in general?
Let's say FS business.
The one tool as in digitally you're talking about here?
It could be digitally, it could be physical, it could be a support, a member of staff, it could be anything.
Right, members, right, okay. I never plan for questions. I know you told the guy I never plan the answers, you see, so I'm doing it off the cuff, so I haven't given too much thought. The one tool, I mean, one thing I could not live without in business in general, and even more so the amount of things that I'm doing at the moment, is a PA. Just because I think a lot of people are guilty of this, of like, and I get that some people listening might be one-man band and you might be thinking, I don't want to shell out that salary. But honestly, like, just having someone behind you or to the side of you where you can just pass on the stuff that you don't enjoy doing and the stuff that takes time but still has to be done, and someone to just get things organised for you is honestly, and I put it off for quite some time. And I was like, I don't need a PA. You know, that's just an extra salary. I'd rather get a salesperson because there's a direct return on investment, isn't there? I pay them this and I get this back. PA, you haven't really got that, but what you do get back massively, and it until you've done it, you don't. I don't think I certainly didn't realise how good you get. So much time, but when you get hours back each week, what you also get is brain space. What you also get is creativity flooding back, because then it's like, I don't have to do admin anymore. Like, I don't do emails. Like, I do emails once a day in a 30 minute block. Most people, and I know this for a fact because everyone I've ever said it to agrees, if you haven't got someone screening your emails, you are dipping in and out of emails all day, every day, interrupting flow, interrupting tasks, interrupting a high value money making task with a stupid email from EE or BT or council tax or a lender sending you a criteria update that you didn't need to know about. You just get drawn in it. So even just giving that away, yes, gains you time, but it gives your brain space back, and it gives you your creativity and your flow. And then what you do is, as soon as you've got X amount of hours back each day and each week, you put those hours to work in income generating tasks, marketing and sales. And then when you do that, like there is a direct return on a PA.
And you can
A
see
lot of
it.
time it's better than a salesperson because it's your time back. And
I read talking about PAs. I read a great book by Dan Martell, How to Buy Back Your Time, and he has a simple.
I haven't heard that one.
It's exactly what you say, giving you hours back. Take your annual profit if you're running a business, divide it by 2,000. That's your hourly rate because that's how many hours you work per year. If you can hire somebody, it tells you to then divide it by 4 again, so you're getting 4 times return on investment on your money. But I think, I don't know if a PA will give you 4 times back straight away. So all I would do, divide your profit by 2,000. If you can hire somebody for cheaper than your hourly rate, go and do it. Because say if your hourly rate's 50 quid an hour and you can hire an admin assistant at £20 an hour, well, every time you're doing something, you're making yourself £30. And it's like you say, sometimes it's hard to see that. If I'm going to pay them 20 grand per year, that's 20 grand off my bottom line. But it could enable you to do 80 grand's worth of sales. So by hiring that person, you've got 4 times back.
Exactly. And then and the same applies when you were speaking there. It made us think about like what I go through a lot of the smaller firms that I coach is like some of them still aren't doing that aren't passing admin. And it's the same principle. Like people who are good at sales and are good at converting their leads that they've got into monetizing it and converting it into protection and mortgage customers, you are so wasted by doing applications and doing crap on a CRM. Like, and you're just so wasted. But so many brokers say, I don't want to give it up. They'll never do it as good as me. I can still do it relatively quickly. Or they're never any good. Or I don't want to pay for admin. Like, honestly, you can't scale doing admin. You just cannot. Like, and I don't think many people actually love admin. I think most people who are good at sales don't like it. So I don't mind it. But are they just being tight because they don't want to pay someone to do it? Like, honestly, like that is the in financial services specifically, it's what so many people still do, and I think it's
the bit
mad.
that you need to outsource. Yeah.
And even in another thing, sorry to jump in, like when you were saying that thing about getting your time back and your hourly rate, like some people don't have. This sounds like I don't want to sound like a knob here, but some people don't have cleaners in the house, like. I've got a cleaner that comes 6 hours a week. Like, why? Because I don't want to be wasting time doing housework. And she like irons my clothes, hangs it up in colour coordination in me dressing room and all that.
So
like,
it's easier for you to start your day.
I outsource honestly as much as I can. I don't eat breakfast. There's health benefits to that, but it's also a waste of time. Like I went really granular on this years ago, and at one point when I was having breakfast, I was I was blending my breakfast. Right, so I was eggs, porridge, fruit, ice, protein powder into a NutriBullet, necking it in one because it's saving us 30 minutes. If I was cooking scrambled egg and making porridge,
I love
that's
that.
a waste of time. So I went really granular on this and I went a bit overboard. But the overarching sort of point there is if you can pay someone to do a task that is less than your hourly rate, or you just really don't like doing something and you want some extra time, like you have to make that move at some point to get your time back. And then once you've got your time back and you make money with that time, you'll realise, like, why wasn't I doing this ages ago?
Yeah, it might hurt for a bit, but it's worth it. Yeah. Mate, you've given so much value on this podcast, and I can't thank you enough. Now, where can people connect with you, and how can they get access to Terry Blackburn's mind?
So reach out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I do have a community launching by the time this podcast is out. It would have launched. So it's called the Wealthy Advisors Club. It's going to be a Skool community where I effectively, you said, access my brain. My brain is in there. So there's going to be weekly sessions. There's going to be quarterly meetups. There's going to be video libraries. And effectively, I made a decision not that long ago I want to help more financial services firms, but my time is limited. Talking about time, my time's limited, right? There's only so many hours I can give to firms one-to-one. So I'm going to do it on a bigger scale. I want to get 1,000 members in this community within a couple of years. I'm really going to go for it. And I'm teaching people how I generated leads, how I sold, But then also, it's called the Wealthy Advisor Club. I'm going to teach what I know about lead generation. Love your help on this as well, by the way, because what you do is great.
Yeah.
But then once you've got the leads, what to do with the leads,
Yeah.
how to sell to them, how to do proper fact finds, how to follow up, all that. Then once you've got more leads, you've converted more of those leads, you've made more money, it's then what to do with the money. So then all my property expertise comes in. So I've got about 40 properties in the Northeast, done most property strategies. So I want to build wealthy advisors, because there's also something we haven't discussed today is in this industry, Chris has just got a nice cup of tea delivered there.
Yeah, I've just had one delivered. That'll be on YouTube, that one.
Love it. Is that your PA?
that's my fiance Sarah.
I'm messing.
Well.
But yeah, so my point is here is like there's a lot of advisors who aren't wealthy. And I believe that is because they are so busy doing the day-to-day that they either don't know how to invest it in the property properly, they don't want to, they don't know how or whatever, they haven't got the time. So through my methods, I'm going to teach you how to get more leads, how to then sell to more of those leads and monetize it and get as much money as you can from your business. Some of that's scaling your business, recruitment, everything I've got up here in my 16 years of doing this is going to go in this community. And then it's once you've got the money, once you've got the commission, it's how to make forever commission, which is you invest it into property, which then spits out rental income, which is more commission. And then it's a cycle. And I want to build wealthy advisors. And from what I can see in the marketplace, I don't think there's anybody doing this. Nobody with my angle or my expertise. So by the time this is out, it'll be all over LinkedIn. So fantastic. I'm sure you would have seen it. So I'm buzzing for it. It's one of the most exciting projects I've ever had, I think. And if it doesn't take off, I'll be shocked. But that's the best way if you want to learn.
Make sure you check out Terry on LinkedIn. And what's the name of it again? Sorry.
It's called the Wealthy Advisor Club.
The Wealthy Advisor Club. Look forward to seeing it go live.